Well, hello everybody, welcome back. That's right, it's Mr. Michael, and it's time for Storytime with Mr. Michael. So, today we have an absolute all-time classic to read together. It's in my big book called Treasury of Children's Literature. This has a wonderful selection of amazing authors, beautiful pictures, and great stories. Today, like I say, it's going to be an all-time classic. Today, we're going to be reading The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. I'm so very excited to read this together. So, let's hear what happens to this giant. Shall we begin? The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. Retold and illustrated by Allison Reed. There once was a giant who came down from the mountains to build himself a castle in the valley. All of the people of the valley were amazed by the beauty of his castle and the garden that surrounded it. Flowers of every scent and color grew there, and birds and butterflies flew everywhere. It seemed that there was magic in the garden, and in the afternoon the school children would go there to play. One day, the giant dug up a tree as a present and set off up the steep mountain path to visit his friend. His friend was delighted to see him, and the two giants sat talking for days and days. The giant told his friend all about his wonderful garden, but surely, his friend said, it cannot be the most beautiful garden in the world if you let all those children trample on it. And the giant saw some sense in what his friend said. There's the giant right there. The next day, the giants climbed up to the very top of the mountain and found the biggest boulder anyone had ever seen. Oh, look at that beautiful garden. Isn't that amazing? And there's the little kids playing. That's a beautiful picture, isn't it? Let's find out what happens next. This will build a fine wall, his friend said, and the giant set off home, struggling under the weight of the enormous boulder. After many days, the giant reached the valley. With his left hand, he smashed the great stone and laid the pieces one upon the other to build a great wall around the garden. It was autumn by the time the wall was finished. The giant stood back to admire his work and thought, now it really is my garden. No one will be able to spoil it. Outside the garden, the children had nowhere to play. They wandered round the high walls when their lessons were over and talked about the beautiful garden inside. How happy we were there, they said to each other. Winter came, and the garden was bleak and white and silent. The giant stared at the snow and longed for spring. Months went by, and there was no sign of a thaw. Little did the giant know that outside his wall, the sun shone and the grass was green. Then one morning, the giant was woken by the song of a bird. At last, he cried, spring is here. He looked out the window and saw that the snow was melting. In a corner of the garden, the children had made a hole in his great wall. Laughing and shouting, they ran happily into the garden. Everything came to life again. Flowers bloomed and the grass was green. The giant hurried down to greet the children. But when they saw him coming, they ran away to hide. Only the smallest boy remained. He stood crying under a tree whose branches still had no leaves. The giant gently lifted him up, and as the boy's small hands touched the branches, the tree burst into blossom. How selfish I have been, said the giant. With my great wall, I have locked the spring out of my garden. The children who had been watching came out from behind their hiding places. They shyly gathered round the giant and offered him flowers. "It is your garden now, children," said the giant, and together they started to break down the great wall. With the stones they built arches, and the children ran round and in and out of them. The giant saw that his garden was more beautiful than ever. He loved all the children, but he kept a special place in his heart for the smallest child. For it was he who had shown the giant how his selfishness had destroyed his garden. From that day until the end of the giant's life, the children played happily in the garden. Wasn't that a really nice story? I think it's absolutely wonderful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you're having a good day today, and I hope you liked today's story time with Mr. Michael. Don't forget, like and subscribe so you get all the story times, and comment in the comment section with what your favorite story is. I want to read it next. Okay, bye everybody. Monarch loves you.